Welcome to Dare to Soar with your host, Dr. RC. Dr. RC will empower, encourage, and strengthen you. She will help you to soar to your highest potential while instilling hope. Please welcome the host of Dare to Soar, Dr. RC.
Good Saturday morning, Eagle family, and welcome to Dare to Soar. I am Dr. RC. Today's episode holds deep meaning as we recognize Suicide Awareness Month. Suicide is often called the silent struggle, one that touches far too many lives, families, as well as communities. But today, we're breaking that silence. This hour is about truth, courage, and hope. It's about giving voice to the unspoken, shining a light in the darkness, and reminding every listener that you are not alone. Your story matters. Together, we will explore the challenges, the impact, and most importantly, the pathways to healing and prevention. My guest and I are here to share knowledge, resources, and inspiration so that each of us will become a part of the solution. So let's lean in, listen with compassion, and dare to soar beyond limits because stronger hope is possible and brighter tomorrows are within reach. Oh, guys, I am so excited. I want to jump right in. But before I jump right in, I want to introduce my special guest that is with me today. Miss Lynetta Crawford is a certified school social worker with more than 2 decades of experience serving children, families, and schools. She currently works as a school social worker with Jefferson County Public Schools, where she coordinates social services, collaborates with educators and community agencies, and advocates for students facing personal, social, and academic challenges. A proud graduate of the University of Kentucky's College of Social Work, Lynetta brings expertise in crisis response, truancy prevention, and family support. Passionate about bridging the gap between home and school and community, she is dedicated to ensuring every student has the tools, resources to thrive. Eagle family, help me in welcoming my guest this morning, Miss Lynetta Crawford. How are you doing this morning, Miss Crawford?
I am fantastic and blessed. Good morning, Dr. RC, and thank you for this opportunity to be a guest on your Dare to Soar podcast to have this crucial conversation about suicide prevention and awareness, a topic that's very passionate to me as well.
Oh, it is my absolute pleasure. I just want the audience to know once again, this topic is unspoken struggles, unbreakable hope, daring to soar beyond suicide. And with that being said, how did you become involved in suicide prevention and awareness?
Well, thank you for that question, Dr. RC. I became involved through my work supporting students and families in schools. Early in my career, I saw students whose emotional pain and unmet need led to crisis. We see it all the time. And I realized schools are uniquely positioned to identify risk early, early
Mhm.
warning signs, and connect young people to help. Over time, I've partnered with community agencies and help implement prevention programs that focus on early identification, safety planning, and family centered interventions. And that's really how I got my start in over my career.
And I hope the guests just caught a couple of things that you said, when you said it's schools. And I want them to be clear about that, especially with everything that's going on across the nation, across the globe
Mhm,
today, when you
mhm,
share that schools, when we talk about all of this, guys, I want you to tune in to what Ms. Crawford said. And I can't say this enough, and I want to keep iterating about schools because that is a help, not to negate what's happening outside of schools, but we're seeing
mhm.
so many things that are happening inside of schools. But what she's sharing in her role as a school social worker, having the knowledge and the training and the expertise, and how she shared about addressing those interventions with with that training that's giving her that knowledge to know the next steps to take to address those
Mhm.
issues, not to mention being able to address some of those things early on. And I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I just want you to,
Mhm.
take note of what she's sharing, because she's going to dive deeper into that also. Just take note of that. And I want you to reflect on
Mhm.
what's happening across the globe, because it's not just happening inside the US, it's happening outside the US as well. So I just want you to hold on
Mhm.
to that, because she's going to go deeper, guys. She's going to go deeper. And I just want you to also
Mhm.
reflect upon those that are doing this role, school social workers that you know that are doing this.
Mhm.
And I'm saying that because, and I just want to put a plug in, whether you all are realizing it or not, there is becoming a shortage of school social workers. For some
Mhm.
reason, someone has felt the need to say that school social workers are not needed in schools.
Mhm.
But I'm here to
Mhm.
tell you that is an untruth. That is an untruth. But I'm not going to go too deep, because I could go on and on about that. But I want to keep on, because
Mhm.
we're talking about Suicide Awareness Month. So, Ms. Crawford, suicide is often called the silent epidemic. Oh, good grief. I'm getting a hot
Mm.
flash just thinking about that, because my temperature's rising when I say that. Why do you
Yes.
think it remains so difficult for people to talk about it openly?
Well, Dr. RC, you know as well as I do, there is a stigma and a fear of judgment. I mean, it goes all the way back, especially in our community. You don't talk about those things. There's a stigma that is, attached to it. And so there is a fear of judgment. These are major make it difficult to discuss the silent epidemic. According to the World Health Organization, stigma around mental health prevents 67% of people from seeking help. You know, as I mentioned, also the cultural norms and the misconception about suicide also contributes to the silence. For many cultures and communities, suicidal thoughts are still tied to moral judgment,
Mm.
which makes people hide distress
And
rather than
Ms.
reach
Crawford,
out.
I'm going to have to pause right there. But when we talk about those statistics, oh, it's deep. Guys, it is
It
time for a
is.
commercial break. But I am going to have her, to Ms. Crawford, repeat that when we return.
Mhm.
Don't you dare go away, because this is Dare to Soar. I am Dr. RC. We will be right back, and she is going to share and go deeper into that question. And I'm going to repeat that question for you so you don't lose a beat when we return.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth, and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern, as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals.
Welcome back, Eagle family. Yes, I am Dr. RC, and yes, you are certainly listening to Dare to Soar. I am here with my guest, Miss Lynetta Crawford, and Unspoken Truth, Unbreakable Hope, Daring to Soar Beyond Suicide. Right before the break, as I promised, I want to repeat the question that she was responding to
Mhm.
because she was definitely providing information and speaking truth to power as she was responding. And the question that I asked her before the break was suicide is often called the silent epidemic. And why do you think, I was asking her, why does she think that it remains to be so difficult for people to talk about it openly? She was sharing and imparting some great statistics. And as I said, speaking truth to power. So, Ms. Crawford,
Mhm.
please continue on.
Okay. So basically, I shared that, it's still the stigma and fear of judgment are major barriers. And it makes it very difficult to discuss this silent epidemic. And like I said, according to the World Health Organization, stigma around mental health prevents 67% of people from seeking help. It's those cultural norms and the misconceptions surrounding suicide that also contributes to the silence. And for many cultures and communities, suicidal thoughts are still tied to moral judgment,
Mhm.
and which makes people hide this distress rather than reach out for help. There's also fears of it making it worse when we talk about it, or not knowing what to say. You
Mhm.
know, that silence increase isolation,
Yes.
and isolation is known to be a risk factor of
Mhm.
suicide. So, if we can, reducing the stigma starts with normalizing the conversation about mental health and providing clear and safe pathways to help. It is okay. We all have moments where we're having difficulty in our lives, and it's nothing wrong with that. We just need a little support, and it's okay to talk about that.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm so glad that you and happy to hear you say that Eagle family, hold on to that normalizing, which is a great segue into my next question for Ms. Crawford. How do we recognize the early signs that someone may be struggling? Because there are
Mhm.
signs out there, and that first key was normalizing. So please, if you would respond to that for the Eagle family.
Yes. So warning signs often includes change in mood or behavior. Those are the main warning signs that you would see. If you see someone withdrawing from friends or activities, a sudden drop in their school performance or attendance, talking about hopelessness or they feeling hopeless or feeling like they are burdened, or, they're reckless or self-destructive behaviors, you know, giving away their prized possessions, that is a telltale sign, or direct talk of wanting to die. We
Yes,
have some
yes.
people who are just flat out say, I just don't want to be here anymore. And then in school settings, chronic absenteeism and sudden disciplinary issues or abrupt social withdrawal are
Mhm.
important red flags that educators need to be aware of.
Yes.
There's a lot of resources out there that talks about the warning signs. You
Mhm.
can always go to the Suicide Prevention Resource Center to, learn more about those warning signs.
Oh, yes, yes. I always tell the audience, the listening audience, to get those pens, those pencils out and
Mhm.
write down these notes because certainly you go back to these things. And as you're jotting down these things, you can always flip back to it. And Miss Crawford just provided you with a resource. And then I tell you guys in the opening that she would be providing you with resources that you can go back to. So here's one little nugget that you got. So I hope that you caught that resource that she gave you. Unspoken struggles, unbreakable hope, daring to soar beyond suicide. I know that this topic can be very heavy for some or
Mhm.
many. I'm not going to say some, for many, for thousands.
Mhm.
But it is a needed topic. Although September is Suicide Awareness Month, this is something that happens too often. It is something that it is ongoing.
Mhm.
And one life is too many. And we have
Mhm.
to talk about it. Ms. Crawford said normalizing the conversation. not being afraid to have that conversation, looking
Mhm.
at the early warning signs. She shared information about school settings, looking at those telltale signs within school settings, the attendance, the changes in behavior, those shifts, those are key. And what she's saying, she's not saying that this happens to every student, but certainly we have to pay attention.
Mhm.
And what better resource than your school social worker? Because, and I have to put this plug in, trained mental health professionals. Let me say
Yes.
that louder. I know that I'm on the microphone, but trained mental health professionals who are
Yes,
trained to
Dr.
do
RC.
this work. Guys, please. I know that this may be uncomfortable, but here is someone, here is an individual, or there are individuals in your school settings that you can share this information with so you're not having this conversation yourselves. They can handle this. They are trained to do this. And I have to put that plug in because it is about saving lives, getting that
Mhm.
knowledge out, having these critical conversations. We don't want to open papers and read about our young people. We don't. We
Mm-mm.
don't. Or older individuals either. Because
Right.
yes, when this impacts so many people, so many people. And that's why these conversations are so critical. I want to get off my soapbox. This is Dare to Soar. I am Dr. RC. I am here with my guest, Miss Lynetta Crawford, school social worker. Let's continue on with this conversation.
Okay.
So, what impact does suicide have on families? And I know this is a loaded question because we are just talking about this, but
Mhm.
I'm getting a signal for a commercial break, so I'm going to hold that question until we come back. Oh my
All
gosh,
right.
this is just it's just a great conversation to have. It really is because it brings awareness on so many levels. But guys, I'm going
Yes,
to
it
hold the
does.
question until we come back. So, Eagle family, don't go away. I do have more to share with my guest, Miss Lynetta Crawford. We will be right back.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant. Like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. You know, it feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back once again, Eagle family. Yes, I am Dr. RC, your host, and absolutely, this is Dare to Soar, and I'm coming to you live with my guest, Miss Lynetta Crawford. And what are we talking about? We are giving awareness to Suicide Awareness Month, unspoken struggles, unbreakable hope,
Mhm.
daring to soar beyond suicide. When I tell you she is dropping some golden nuggets, so I truly hope that you've grabbed a friend. Remember, we are on YouTube Live. Make sure you like and subscribe as well. So I want to continue on with the conversation. I was delving into the next question, but it was time for a commercial break. So, Ms. Crawford, what impact does suicide have on families, schools, and communities, both seen and unseen?
Yes. So thank you, Dr. RC. So some of the visible impacts include grief, you see that, disrupted learning,
Mm,
and the need for crisis response resources.
mm,
The unseen effects are long term,
mhm,
unresolved trauma. We see
mhm.
trauma a lot for the peers and family members.
Yes.
Increased anxiety across the staff and students and community wide.
Hmm.
And shift in trust and perceived safety. We're feeling that even right now, perceived
Hmm.
safety. Schools may need to spend a significant time and resources on grief counseling and prevention after an event. That is something that, we have to continue to do, which also diverts attention from regular programming because we have to basically stop everything we're doing,
Yes.
even educating our curriculum on academic level to address the trauma at hand. And
Hmm.
these ripple effects can last months or years and affect academic outcomes and mental health system trust. So, it has a profound impact across all areas, families, schools, and communities.
Oh yes, oh yes. Taking that pause is so critical, and trying to get, and this is not a hit or anything on schools, but that's why it's so important to have trained professionals in the arena in certain lanes
Hmm.
to share particular information, because when it's time to take a pause for things,
Hmm.
it is critical for them to understand everyone has a certain expertise, a certain training, and that is clear. So stepping into the arena to share that when these pauses are needed and
Hmm.
delivering that understanding, it is important because the rigor of education, it is ever
Hmm.
evolving, ever changing. But if you don't take time for that pause to happen, then the end results will not allow for the gain, not
Hmm.
allow for the successes. And I have to put this plug in also. Oftentimes, school social workers are not seen as a part of the academic success process.
Hmm.
Well,
Hmm.
guys, here is the reason why school social workers are a part of the academic success achievement. Because if we are not in this, aligned with this to help the pause, to help with the healing, there is no academic success. There is no
Right.
academic achievement. If you're
Mhm.
not able to pause, heal emotionally, mentally, you are not able to take in the academics that are needed, the learning that is needed, the education that's being delivered. So that is how school social workers align with academic success. I just want to put that plug in, which is a great
Mhm.
way to lead into how important is the language in addressing suicide, because all of this aligns together. You
Mhm.
know, sharing that, for example, moving from committing suicide to die by suicide. And it is important because oftentimes it is understanding. And I'm saying that because it is about understanding and
Mhm.
sharing that information. Because when you don't understand how wording is, just like when you're
Mhm.
teaching in classrooms, it's about wording. How do we deliver this information so our students can understand? It's no different than when we're in this work delivering that information. I'm going to pause, Ms. Crawford, and give you an opportunity to answer that.
Mhm. Well, thank you, Dr. RC. So you're absolutely right. Language matters a great deal. Language shapes perception.
Mhm.
Terms like committed suicide carries a criminal and moral connotations that increase the stigma and the shame. And so, if we can just do something as simple as change the language, imagine the impact. So, the leading organizations recommend neutral, non judgmental phrases such as died by suicide.
Mhm,
Hear the difference?
mhm.
Committed suicide versus died by suicide. That automatically died by suicide reduces the stigma and encourages open conversation.
Mhm.
Changing language is simple, and it's a simple evidence informed step that helps create an environment where people feel safer asking for help. And at the bottom line, that's what we want people to do. We want them to feel comfortable with asking for help and support and resources. We don't want them to feel shameful. It's time for us to save more lives. And if it's changing language, that's exactly what we need to do.
Mhm. And when you say that, I feel like we need a PSA just with that in itself, because it is about understanding. And, you know, we're not here to say anything is intentional, but the
Mhm,
key element is to give and provide understanding and awareness. That's why conversations like this
mhm,
is critical. They are critical.
mhm,
They are important. They are
mhm,
key. They are key
mhm,
elements to provide awareness and understanding. Unspoken struggles,
mhm,
unbreakable hope. That is the topic, daring to soar beyond suicide. When we have these conversations, and I said in the beginning, I know that this is a conversation that may be tough, very difficult, very tough
mhm,
for many. But if we're not courageous enough to have these conversations or open and willing to share the knowledge, then we can't be able to spread the word, to spread what it means to transition, to provide understanding. And on that note, it is time for another commercial break, but I promise you, Miss Crawford has
mhm.
more to share and I have more to ask. Don't go away, guys. We'll be right back.
Mike Zorich, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorich, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorich has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk. What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to easysense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's easysense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation.
Well, welcome back once again, Eagle family, and good Saturday morning. Yes, I am Dr. RC, and this is Dare to Soar. My guest this morning, Miss Lynetta Crawford. What are we talking about? We're giving recognition to Suicide Awareness Month. I want to continue on with our questions because I do have more to ask her. As I move on with my question, Miss Crawford, in what ways can communities, churches, schools, workplaces set up to create safe, supportive environments?
Okay. So here's some concrete ways to create a safe and supportive environment. Implementing a mental health training program to train community leaders and stakeholders like teachers, clergies, supervisors, in the workplace to recognize the warning signs and to make referrals to mental health professionals. Like you said, we need those mental health professionals, someone who is trained in this work. So, these mental health professionals adopting a clear referral pathway, because everybody doesn't know how to make a referral for these services, and to have access to crisis response plans, including 988 suicide prevention hotline. It's as simple as 988 to call. And then, of course, you have the local crisis centers. Normalizing help seeking through campaigns, such like what we're doing today, and peer support, promoting safe storage of lethal means, aka firearms, medication. And we also want to expand, you kind of hit on this, Dr. RC, expand the access to school-based mental health services so students can help where they are because they spend the majority of their time at school. And I cannot not mention faith-based communities can also provide a safe space to have open dialogue to eliminate the stigma. Now, I must say that the church I currently attend, our pastor has created a safe and supportive environment to openly talk about mental health and to provide access to mental health services and resources. We have mental health professionals that are in the church that lend their talents and services to the congregation. And just recently, our pastor did a segment on, or a series on the anxious generation, talking about our kids, how they're so anxious, and these things lead to mental health issues. So I must applaud my pastor, Dr. Scholl, for his courageous and crucial conversation that he has brought to the congregation. So faith-based community can also be that resource as well.
I love that. Absolutely love that. All of those are so, so critical. Thank you so much for sharing that. Guys, I told you she was going to drop resources, and I know that your notebooks and those pens and pencils that you're working with they should be almost out of ink. Those you should have sharpened those pencils again because those were some great tips, some great nuggets that were shared with you. Definitely, definitely. And you have to take note of that. Like I said, always, always go back to refer to your notes, just like anything else, because those are resources that you may think of later. Oh gosh, I remember someone saying that. Where did I put that? Here it is. You'll go back and remember you were listening to Dare to Soar. Miss Lynetta Crawford was on there with Dr. RC, and here it is, something you can refer back to. I want to keep going because I do have more questions for Miss Crawford. And that leads in as she was speaking about the mental health role. So, what role does mental wellness, excuse me, and self care, oh, goodness gracious, self care
Mm,
play in
mm.
prevention? Oh, my goodness.
Yes, Dr. RC, this is critical. Mental wellness and self-care are foundational. You have to
Yes.
have them. It is no question. It has to be there. So, regular sleep, we know we need to get regular sleep. And we must have social connections and stress management strategies. And access to a counseling can improve to be resilient and to reduce intensity and duration of a crisis. So, I mean, all those things are needed to reduce and prevent suicide. You have to take care of yourself. And for staff and caregivers, self care reduces burnout. We talk about burnout a lot. It reduces burnout and preserves the capacity to respond compassionately
Yes.
because we know if we don't get that rest, we're on
Mm,
edge. So we have to take care of ourselves. Now let's talk about, in the educational world. Teaching students practical coping skills and building social support networks are
Mhm.
evidence-based protective strategies.
Mhm.
We have to do those things. And the CDC reports that individuals with strong social supports are 50% less likely to experience suicidal ideation.
Mm.
So if you haven't picked up on anything else, self-care is the central role in suicide prevention.
Wow. Wow. You just got to pause for a moment to let that
Yes.
soak in like a sponge because, we often talk about self care and we think that we're doing a great job. And I said we because
Mm-hmm.
all of us, we can say, oh, what did you do to take care of yourself today? And we can rattle off
Mm-hmm.
all these things. But when we sit back and honestly reflect on that, was that really something for self-care or was it something we just kind of brushed over for self-care?
Mm-hmm.
And I just want the
Mm-hmm.
audience, the Eagle family, just think about that. And if you haven't done anything after listening to what Ms. Crawford just gave you a breakdown of it, I want you to take time this week. And if you can't do it today, make sure you put it in your plan for this upcoming week, specifically for yourself, to take time to do something for yourself as it relates to self care. Just take some time
Mm-hmm.
for yourself because she's just shared some numbers with you that lets you know that if you don't take time for yourself, it can be very detrimental. Very
Mm-hmm.
detrimental. Hold on to that. Think about that as I move on to the next question because that's powerful. That is very, very
Mm-hmm.
powerful. Oh my gosh. Which
Mm-hmm.
leads to whew, I told you she was gonna be dropping some nuggets, dropping some nuggets. Oh my gosh. And I believe it's time for another commercial break. That's enough
Oh
for
my
to go to a
goodness.
commercial. Oh my gosh, that's enough to go to another commercial.
Yes.
It's time for a commercial break, guys. We will be right back. Don't go away.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant. Like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Good Saturday morning once again, Eagle family. I can feel your energy. I am so thankful that you all have returned. I am here with my guest, Miss Lynetta Crawford. Oh, didn't I tell you she was going to be dropping some great nuggets, some resources as well? This time is going by so fast. As she spoke about self-care, we had to take a self-care break ourselves after she gave those statistics. Oh, what a reflection. My goodness. I want to continue on. I have a few more questions for her. This time has gone by so quickly. So as
Mhm.
we get down to our last minutes, what, Ms. Crawford, what is some evidence-based strategies or programs that have proven effective in reducing suicide rates?
All right. So based on my research, there are a few evidence-based approaches. And for example, programs like the Zero Suicide Initiative and the Columbia Suicide Severity Rating Scale have shown measurable success. For example, the Zero Suicide model has reduced suicide rates by 80% in some healthcare systems. And they're seeing, I mean, to me, that's major. 80% in the healthcare sector. That's huge. And then the other evidence base, based on my research, I found was the Sources of Strength. That is a school based upstream program that trains peer leaders and adults to shift norms and increase help seeking. Rigorous evaluation shows improvement in protective norms and help seeking behavior. So, training those peers because, a student may be more likely to talk to their peer before they come to an adult.
Mhm.
So training those peer counselors to help to have that courageous conversation. So the Source of Strength is one evidence-based program that has shown, success.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Oh, I love that. Love that. Thank you. And I'm sure these are resources that our Eagle family can relate to as well and definitely look back to it definitely at a later date to put
Mhm.
in their toolkit or their toolbox, if you will. So additionally, as we move on from that question, what resources should listeners know about if they or someone, their loved one may be struggling? um, in this situation as well.
Mhm. And I know we have been talking about the warning signs and, reducing the
Mhm,
stigma, but now it's really time to talk about resources because
mhm,
we need to get that information out there to our, communities. So here's some key resources that, you can utilize. So 988, we did mention it a little earlier in the show.
mhm,
988 is a suicide prevention hotline that anybody that's in a crisis can just dial 988. As simple as that.
mhm,
88. Um, or there is a crisis lifeline. And these numbers and resources are available in the US 24/7. There's a support by call, text, or chat for anyone in crisis. So if you use the text line, you text HOME, HOME,
mhm,
to 741 741. If someone is in immediate danger, you always can call 911. So,
mhm,
recap: 988 suicide hotline, text HOME, HOME, to 741 741, or immediate response 911. So, remember those things. Now, for local school counselors or social workers, they're the first line of defense. So schools have those individuals for our youth if they are in a crisis. Local school counselors, school social workers, and now we have mental health practitioners in schools as well.
mhm, mhm,
So, also community mental health centers, emergency departments, mobile crisis teams, for urgent needs. Those
mhm,
are resources that are also available. Now, you also have those national organizations like the National Alliance on Mental Health, NAMI.
mhm,
They are a good resource for anybody that is in a crisis. And they have local community agencies that you can join and be a part of as well.
mhm.
So, those are just a few of the
Yes,
resources that are available.
yes, 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 they are. Thank you, thank you. Excellent, excellent. Now, I have a loaded question, but I'm fearing that a commercial break is going to come. And that question, I know you're laughing because you know it's coming. You're coming, it's coming, it's coming. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming because it is dealing with policy and systematic level. Oh, goodness gracious.
Those barriers.
Yes, 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 yes. But I do believe it's time for a commercial break. So I'm going to hold it until uh the commercial. Okay, it says I have about 3 minutes. I have about 3 minutes. So I want to ask this question because this is going to be the wrap up question. So this is probably be a hold question. Uh, I'm trying to see how I want to go with this because I know this is going to be
Okay.
deep. This is going to be deep. This is going to be deep. So what changes do you believe need to happen at the policy or systematic level
Mm,
to truly, whew, I know, I know,
mm.
to truly address um suicide and prevention? And I want to keep going with this. I want to, yeah, because this is much needed to address. So I
Mhm.
want us to keep
Mhm.
rolling with this one. Let's keep rolling with this one. So go ahead and answer that.
Okay. All right. It is a loaded question, Dr. RC.
I know,
And
I
if we
know,
had our magic wand,
I
we can
know,
make
I
these
know,
things
I know,
happen.
I know, I know, I know, I know.
Right. But needed changes includes expanding funding for school-based mental health staff and school social workers. You know, we also need community crisis services in our schools. We need these things. We need to ensuring equity and access in Medicaid and insurance for behavioral health. Those things are crucial, crucial. And then also implementing widespread crisis response systems like the 988. That is so simple. Picking up the phone, dialing 988. To go along with the 988, we need funding for mobile crisis teams.
Yes,
Just imagine if we had access to mobile crisis teams in our communities,
yes,
what impact that can have.
yes,
And also, we want to support workforce development
yes,
so communities can have trained clinicians, crisis responders, and paraprofessionals that understand the mental health crisis that we're dealing with. And I can go on with the data systems that track non-fatal attempts. We need
mm,
that. We need to know those things.
yes,
The ideation tracking that, and
hmm,
then also service access will also improve targeted prevention.
hmm,
So system changes requires both funding, which we know we need funding,
hmm,
and policy alignment
hmm,
across these disciplines, education,
yes, yes,
healthcare, and public safety.
yes.
Those are the things that we need.
Whew.
That's the answer to your loaded question, Dr. RC.
I knew it was a loaded question. That's why I was hesitant to say, whoo, I'm going to ask this question, but I know the answer, but it needs to be out there. It needs to be openly out there because funding is key. And what we're seeing, we're seeing this in real time. It's not something that's made up. You can research it. You can open up a paper. You don't even have to open up a newspaper because I don't even think people really read newspapers anymore, but
Right.
it's there. You can go on the internet. You can research it. You can even go back a couple of years and there is the research to bring you to current and present time. You can, turn on the television and see it
Mm-hmm.
each and every day, second by second, minute by minute, however you want to phrase that. It is
Mm.
happening, it is ongoing. Speak with your neighbors, your friends. It
Yes.
is talk with children to see because they can tell you what's happening to their friends, in
Mm-hmm.
their peer groups. This is the reality of what's going on in society today. So we're not sitting here, or Ms. Crawford is not, I'm not asking her these questions and she's just pulling something out of the sky. She's telling you what is actually happening along with numbers, research, but experience as well. I'm not going to get on my soapbox because whew, I tell you, we can go on and on with this. So, Ms. Crawford,
Yes.
what gives you hope as you
Mm.
continue this work? Let me say that again. What gives you hope
Mm,
as you continue this work? And how do you take care of your own mental wellness while helping others?
well, Dr. RC, when I
Oh,
think about this whole silent epidemic, my hope comes from seeing lives saved and
mm-hmm,
stigma reduced. We
mm-hmm,
gotta continue to have this courageous, crucial conversation about it, to reduce the lives that are, taken away far too soon.
mm,
That's what in my heart gives me hope. And talk about self-care. Now, sometimes I need to do a little bit better with my self-care, but my self-care includes, sometimes therapy. Sometimes you
mm-hmm,
need to talk with somebody about
mm-hmm.
whatever's going on in your life, a trusted friend. And, even if you don't have a individual who is a professional, but a trusted friend that you can confide in, that you can talk to. I also do some mindfulness, taking moments to just, woosah or get a massage. That's kind of the things I do for self care. And then also setting boundaries. You have to set boundaries because if you don't, it only is when you don't set boundaries, it could be the detriment of your mental health.
Yes,
And so self care is crucial. So we
yes.
must remember you can't pour into an empty cup. If
Mm,
you don't take care of yourself, you can't be a help to anyone else.
mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. Did you hear what she said, Eagle family? You cannot pour into an empty cup. I want you all at some point today, grab a cup.
Hmm.
Just grab a cup and look into that cup. Pierce into that cup. Just pierce into it for a moment and just reflect on that. Because if there's
Hmm.
nothing there, what are you going to get from it? What are you going to get from it? And therein lies your answer. Just think about
Hmm.
that because there is truth to that. Oh my gosh, this has been such a great conversation. Unspoken troubles, struggles, unbreakable hope, daring to soar beyond suicide. This conversation has brought all that I promised, resources, a wealth of information, knowledge, nuggets. Miss Crawford has dropped nuggets for you as well as shared true experiences as well. My final question for you, Miss Crawford, is if you could leave our listeners, the Eagle family, with one message of hope and action, what would it be?
So we can all play a part in making our community safer. You are not alone, and help is available. Together, we can create a world where mental health is prioritized and no one feels like their only option is suicide. So if you're worried about someone, reach out. Your conversation can matter more than you know. Learn the warning signs, make a compassionate, non judgmental connection,
Mhm.
and help the person access resources like 988 or connect them with a school counselor. Remember small actions, listening, checking in, supporting safe, strong storage of lethal weapons can and does save lives.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Eagle family, thank you so much for tuning in this morning with me. My guest, Miss Lynetta Crawford, I appreciate each and every one of you so very much. Yes, I am Dr. RC, host of Dare to Soar, founder and CEO of Soar with Katie, as well as the author of the mental health journal, Reclaim Your Power. As I always tell you, never be afraid to elevate to new heights as you spread your wings and dare to soar. Enjoy the rest of your week and take care. Thank you, Ms. Crawford, for being my guest today. Take care, everyone.
Thank
And thank you once again.
This has been Dare to Soar with your host, Dr. RC. Come take a ride and soar to your highest level possible each week on Dr. RC's Dare to Soar.